ReZero is a fantasy series which has existed in some shape or form for over 10 years now. The first chapter of the web novel was published on the 20th of April 2012. As a ReZero YouTuber, I thought I would celebrate the 10th anniversary of ReZero by correcting some of the errors in my ReZero EX1 video. In chapter 1, Miklatov is discussing the Lion King ability with Phoenyck, who complains that there won't ever be a second coming of the Lion King, as whatever made the last Lion King special, Phasael Lagunica, the man who made the pact with the divine dragon, Volcanica, turning the kingdom of Lagunica into the Dragon Friend Kingdom, was no longer a part of the bloodline, as over the generations it would have been diluted, which honestly is a good thing, as it means the royals of Lagunica didn't practice incest to keep the bloodline pure, as it were. Miklatov replies to Phoenyck's complaint with, "So you may say, your highness, but the blood has not run thin. It is a fact that once every several generations, a true master appears in the royal line. 2 generations ago." Miklatov had been speaking fluently, but suddenly he stops. His wrinkled face darkened, and he shook his head and murmured, "No. My apologies. A slip of the tongue. Memory grows unreliable in old age." This true master from 2 generations ago that Miklatov is referring to is Emeralda Lagunica. Like with all members of the royal family, she was attributed with red eyes and blonde hair. She unfortunately died at a young age due to an illness. Or maybe not, unfortunately. Emeralda was widely considered a cruel girl, shrouded by an unfathomable darkness, who was even considered a heretic by her own family. In the end, she did not even have a funeral, as the general public despised her so much. Now, is it possible this was all a lie? Or was the mysterious illness that ended Emeralda the same sickness which snuffed out the lives of the rest of the royal family 50 years later? Miklatov seemed to be looking for someone in the royal family with the ability of the Lion King. The book calls the person with the ability of the Lion King the Sage King, implying that they are the sage who helped seal the Witch of Envy 400 years ago. However, we know the previous Lion King was called Phasael Lagunica, and the sage was known as Flugel. Was this an alias, or some kind of error in the book or translation? My second correction is more of a theory about the translation. I've already discussed how the light novels translated things differently from the web novels and the anime. Some of these things are fine. The light novel doesn't have to follow the precedent set by the fans or the anime, which it also advertises in the book, so you'd think they'd try there at the very least. But some translations are just wrong. Patlash being one. Ah yes. I loved the book The Dog of Flanders with the dog Patlash in it. Such a classic. One thing I also noticed in the EX novels is the general ReZero terminology isn't used, such as divine protections, or my theory that the term Shrine Maiden is actually sage. Maybe this is because when Subaru is in the story, terminology becomes more video gamey to match his perspective, as the terminology is used in the mainline novels. But I do doubt that. So, in future, I will try and point out where I think this terminology should be used. For example, the ability of the Lion King is most likely a divine blessing, as it is an ability from birth. And similar to the divine protection of the Sword Saint, it sticks to one family. For those of you who watch my EX1 video and do want EX2, I do apologise for taking so long. It's been a ridiculously long process, but it currently looks like this.
Wow!
Once again, happy anniversary to ReZero, and thank you for being my favourite fantasy story of all time.